Hello again, budding scientists. So you're back with me, Atomic Alex, at Sublime Science HQ for our 5th challenge. This one I've been absolutely dying for, okay? This one I think is particularly awesome. Make sure you stay tuned. Remember, we've got a competition running throughout these 8 weeks, so you can get involved by submitting your own version of any one of the experiments that you do across these 8 weeks. You can get as wacky as you like, make it really interesting by switching things up, doing it in different places, testing out different variables. The most interesting one that we see across these 8 weeks, we are going to be rewarding with a free science party. Okay, so that's your chance to get involved with our slime making, sweet making, smoke rings, smoke bubbles. That's for you and your friends. If you do miss out on that, don't worry, we've got 10 runners-up prizes up for grabs in the form of home science lab kits. So they'll include lab coats, both our science books, so you can do loads more science experiments at home, and some other really cool sciencey gizmos to get you started. So make sure you get involved. When you do submit those videos, just make sure that you add the hashtag THFOnline2020. So THFOnline2020, because this is all in association with the Tim Henman Foundation Online. So again, really pleased to be working with them. And again, you can follow the link that's posted with this video to check out more of what they do. Now today, as I say, this is one of my favourites. It's still pretty warm weather. We've had, I think one of the warmest days this year, very recently. So, it's an icy one, okay? It's just what we're looking for. This is actually Ice Volcanoes, okay? This is going to take a little bit longer, but it's still very simple. Still only takes things that you've got typically lying around your home. So just to give you a quick rundown on that. We need, firstly, a bowl, and I've already got prepared in that bowl some baking powder. Okay, now specifically, we want about 150 grams of baking powder for a bowl that's roughly that size. And ideally, you want a bowl that's kind of as deep as possible, okay, to get something as close to that volcano kind of shape as you can muster. But it's always going to have the same effect regardless of the bowl, so don't worry too much. So bowl and 150 grams of baking powder, glass of water, some white vinegar, spoon, for safety reasons, glasses, just so nothing splashes your eyes. So vinegar is a weak acid. You want a plate and some food coloring, okay, to make it even more interesting. So I've got a range of those food colorings there, and not essential, but if you do have a pipette lying around, that'd be even better. You don't have to have one of those. Obviously they're less likely to be hanging around your home, but if you do have one, great. You don't need one though. Okay, you can just pour the food coloring, but we'll get to that later on. So our first step is going to be to actually prepare your ice volcanoes. So for that, as I say, you've actually really already done the first step. It's just weighing out roughly 150 grams of baking powder and having that sitting in your bowl. The next step is to pour your water in. Now ideally you want warm water, okay? Not scalding, but just warm to actually help the baking powder dissolve throughout the water. So I'm going to slowly pour that in. So you might want to pour a bit of spillage, okay? So mess, watch out for that. As you go, you can give that a good stir. Bit of a splash, shuffle it around, why not? So as I say, the temperature, a bit of warm, bit of heat even, just helps actually dissolve the baking powder. Keep stirring as you go. Make sure you've got no, just haven't got any clumpy bits sitting at the bottom. And I'm going to chuck the rest of that in there now. So as I say, just add it in parts. Keep stirring. Make sure that's all nicely dissolved. You should end up with a really kind of a milky colour, still a very watery consistency, but see a milky, opaque liquid. So there we go. So that's all prepared now. The next step is a bit of a waiting game. Okay, that needs to now go in the freezer. Okay, you need to leave it there overnight. Ideally, pop it on a plate. Okay, make sure it all sort of stays contained and it's not going to get shaken around inside the freezer. But you want to leave that, as I say, ideally overnight, so it's got plenty of time to entirely freeze. So that's nice and ready for the next step. Once it is ready, you can pop it out, get going the following morning where the real fun happens. So this is one I made earlier. It should look something like this. Okay, so that is your ice volcano. Okay, it just looks like a bowly ice cube obviously at the moment, but kind of a bit snowy at the top there. Okay, so that obviously is the powder, baking powder, just giving it its colour. Now, this is where our vinegar comes in. So, our colour. So I've got, as I say, a range of colours. I've already prepared these in cups. So I'm going to pick on the classic red, okay? That seems right. And just add about equal quantity of white vinegar. Again, you don't have to be too precise on this one. So you still want it to maintain a nice deep colour, so I don't want to dilute it too much, but as long as you've got a decent amount of white vinegar, it's absolutely fine. Now again, you guys can just pour this over the top, okay, but it's obviously a little bit more controlled. Perhaps you could do it with a spoon. Ideally a pipette, okay, that is even better. So the one bit of specialist equipment, if you do have it lying around, all the better. So the final step here is to test it. So we're going to pour this over the top and see what happens. Now again, remember, it's really important in science to make predictions, okay? And I haven't even got my goggles on. Safety first. There we go, stylish. Make yourself a prediction, make a hypothesis now. So pause the video. What do you think is going to happen next? What exactly are you about to observe when I pour this white vinegar with the food colouring over the top of our Ice Volcanoes? Remember, that's bicarbonate of soda or baking soda. They're similar, they're slightly different. Either will work, by the way. You can use bicarbonate soda if you like, or baking powder, whichever you have lying around. Frozen in there with our ice. So pause it now. Make your prediction. Make your hypothesis. And you're back with me. Okay, so the final step, the fun bit. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And probably the first observation is just a fizz. So we do have a chemical reaction taking place here. This is the white vinegar, the acid. Vinegar is an acid, a weak acid like we mentioned earlier. Reacts with the baking soda or bicarbonate soda, whichever one you have. And the main product of that reaction is carbon dioxide gas. So you can see that fizzing up right now. So I'm going to lift this a bit closer to you guys. Just be really careful to do this. Don't necessarily recommend this. This is purely for educational purposes. Just going to gradually, yeah, there we go. So I've got a front row seat here. Hopefully you're picking it up there. So you've got the sound, you can see the observation. So we're going to test out a few different colours now, because why not? And as I say, that's the white vinegar, our acid, reacting with our baking powder. So that's an acid reacting with what we call a base. Okay, the bicarbonate soda is called a base. When it's dissolved in a liquid, it becomes what we call an alkali. But essentially, it's just in chemical terms, in terms of chemistry, it's the opposite of an acid. So those two things react together. This is a neutralization reaction. And as I say, the main product there is our carbon dioxide gas. So you can see that fizzing off. The other product is something called sodium citrate, which is a solid that just kind of sits at the bottom. But we're going to test out a few more now. So let's go for a nice blue. So again, it's going to pour an equal quantity of white vinegar in there. I'll use a fresh pipette. Pipette's gone. Or even nicer. So now you've kind of broken through that surface, through the surface crust of a volcano. It's really getting down there. Oh, excuse me. It's really getting down. It gets the best of us. I'm getting too excited. I'm losing my voice. So now that vinegar has reacted with the bicarbonate soda and broken through the ice that the bicarbonate soda is frozen within. The baking powder is frozen within at the surface. Again, as I say, you can use either one of those, either baking powder or bicarbonate soda. Now it's broken through that. It's reacting with all the other baking powder at the bottom that's frozen within the ice in the centre, and there's probably a little bit more of the bicarbonate soda or baking powder, whichever one you've used, in the middle of the volcano, because it will kind of set it, or just under the surface, because it will, some of it will sink if you've got a bit too much powder added to the water for it all to dissolve perfectly. So just after you've broken through the surface, that's when you're probably going to get the very best part of the reaction. Just to finish this off, we're going to test out our final colour. So I've got a green, the classic green to finish with. Now when you guys test it, I've pretty much run out of vinegar here. We'll give that a go anyway. Now when you guys give this a go, you can test out different things. So you can see what the effect of temperature has on the reaction. Maybe try out a different kind of acid. So lemon juice would be one example, but there are other ones. So have a think, what other acids might you be able to use that could work in this reaction? You could even test out different types of vinegar even. So you could test out just brown vinegar, balsamic vinegar, see how that alters it. There we go, so you've got a nice lovely swampy volcano there, so Shrek's house. So give it a go everyone, let us know how it goes. Remember to add the hashtag THFOnline2020 when you do post your versions of this experiment. And enjoy, and I will see you in the future.